Play It Again, Charlie Brown by Charles M. Schulz. Lucy had always liked Schroeder, but somehow found it impossible to impress him. Schroeder seemed interested only in playing his piano. Some days, while he was practicing, Lucy would walk into the room, lounge on one end of the little piano, and try to think about how nice it would be if Schroeder liked her as much as she liked him. Sometimes, of course, she came up with some pretty weird thoughts. "I'll bet I know something you don't know, Schroeder." "What's that?" he asked. Lucy got up from the piano and walked out of the room. And then quickly returned. "Beethoven now comes in spray cans." That's not very nice. That afternoon, Lucy was talking to Sally, Charlie Brown's little sister, and she said, "I've tried everything, but I can't get Schroeder to notice me." "Here comes Peppermint Patty," said Sally. "She always seems to come up with answers to problems. Maybe she can help." "What's with you, Lucille?" asked Peppermint Patty. "You look down in the dumps." Peppermint Patty always had a way of calling people by names which were a little different from the names other people used. "Oh, she is trying to get Schroeder to pay some attention to her," explained Sally. "Schroeder? He's the kid who is always banging away at his piano, right? Well, look, Lucille, I think I can solve your problem, and you can help me at the same time." Peppermint Patty always seemed to have fantastic solutions for difficult problems like these. "The PTA is giving a big benefit, and I am supposed to line up talent. I'll tell you what, I'll fix it up so Schroeder will get to make his professional debut. That ought to make you a hero with him. Just leave it up to me, Lucille. You tell your lover boy that all is set." Lucy ran off happily to tell Schroeder this good news, but she knew that she had to break it rather gently in order to get him to listen to her. "Schroeder?" she asked. "What would you think of a person if that person could do a great favor for another person?" Schroeder said, "I would think he's a very nice person." "Okay then," said Lucy, "what would you think if I could have you perform your old Beethoven in front of a huge audience? In other words, I have just signed you up to play for the PTA benefit show." "I can't believe it," said Schroeder. "That's very nice. Thank you. I'd better start practicing right away." Lucy got up and walked outside in a sort of daze. "He said thank you. He said thank you to me. He said thank you." She bumped into Snoopy and gave him a big hug. "He said thank you." She saw Charlie Brown and also threw her arms around him, giving him a big hug. "He said thank you. He said thank you to me. He actually said thank you." "It worked, Patty. He said thank you to me." "That's great, Lucille. Oh, by the way, I better mention it now. Make sure that Schroeder doesn't play any of that Beethoven stuff. This is going to be a rock concert, and I'm afraid that old Beethoven won't fit into the program." "I'm doomed," said Lucy to herself. "Schroeder will never understand. Beethoven is his hero, and he will never play in a rock concert." She tried to explain this to Charlie Brown and Pigpen and Snoopy immediately came up with a suggestion. In a matter of moments he had gathered up a set of drums, an electric guitar, and a bass. After a brief demonstration, Lucy was convinced that this little combo might be just the kind of background that Schroeder might be willing to accompany. "Why, Schroeder," she said, "look what I found, a combo for your concert." "Combo?" exclaimed Schroeder. "Who asked for a combo?" "You've got to have some backing," said Lucy. "Aren't they great?" "Forget it, Lucy. I appreciate it, but Beethoven and I can handle it alone." "But Schroeder," said Lucy, "I just found out they won't allow Beethoven. They're expecting a rock concert." "Well, if that's the way they feel," said Schroeder, "just tell them to forget it." By this time, of course, Snoopy, Charlie Brown, and Pigpen were all set to perform, and they couldn't understand why Schroeder didn't want to play with them. Peppermint Patty had everything set up on the stage at the school, and the people in the audience were waiting for the performers to appear. "I just can't go through with it," said Schroeder. "If I played with this combo, Beethoven would never forgive me." "I'd feel as if I were selling out. I'm sorry, Patty, but a person has to do the things he believes in." "This is terrible," said Peppermint Patty. "What will I do now? The PTA is left without a program." "Don't worry, Patty," said Lucy. "You tried to help me. Now I think I can help you." She left the stage for a moment and then quickly returned. She had a small object in her hand, and when she pressed the button on top, some strange words came out. "The meeting of the PTA will come to order. We will dispense with the minutes of the last meeting. We will now have the treasurer's report." "PTA programs also come in spray cans," said Lucy. The end.